Well, welcome back to the Loyal Sons podcast. I am the Hoff. I'm your host alongside my co-host, Brett. Welcome back again.
Well, thank you for having me back. I'm surprised you haven't kicked me out yet.
Well, you know what? I'm surprised I haven't kicked myself out. But we are the Loyal Sons of the great state of Iowa, the mighty Midwest, the Iowa State Cyclones, Iowa Hawkeyes, Nebraska Cornhuskers, and the greatest conference in all of college sports. Such a good day to say that, by the way. The mighty Big 12 Conference. If you are new to the show, continue to follow us on Spotify, on YouTube, and on Apple Podcasts by searching the Loyal Sons podcast, all 4 words, and you can find us there. And also on our socials. We are on X, we are on Instagram, we are on TikTok, and we are on Facebook. And as Brett always loves to say,
smash that like button or just tap it. Just tap it. Nice and easy.
Tappy.
Taparoo.
All right. It's just freaking microphone gold here every week when we get together. Well, later on in the episode, we have a special guest joining us, our friend Cam, who is a member of the or sponsor or leader for the DFW Iowa club down here. We like to make sure that we show some love to not only Iowa State fans, but our Hawkeye fan friends. And don't worry, Husker fans, we are going to use some of our connections as well that maybe either played for Nebraska, either are involved with the Huskers. We will eventually have somebody from your loyal fan base on as well. So we don't want anybody thinking that this is very biased towards just inside the borders of the state of Iowa. But Cam's going to join us to talk about the upcoming Iowa-Nebraska game, that bloody, just heated rivalry that takes place either in Iowa City or Lincoln every year. This year it happens to be in Lincoln. The Fury over the Missouri, whatever you want to call it. But she's going to be joining us later. But before we get into that, today was a good day, Brett, in the world of college basketball. As we've said over the last 2 to 3 weeks, we will continue to cover all of our teams and their basketball teams. So I'm going to throw it over to you really quick. How are our teams looking right now?
Yeah, Iowa State looked really good today, number 15th ranked, playing Creighton, coming off of a close win against St. John.
Hell yeah.
Watching that game, I really had no doubt that they looked really, really good.
They did look solid. And I mean, that's a tough Creighton team. They played them in an exhibition earlier this season. It did not go as it went today either, but with Taman Lipsy out and Milan stepping up, Heisey stepping up, and good Lord, Touré, the wonder from France, just looking powerful right now. And we don't want to jump ahead, but looking like a solid team.
Well, then you got Iowa playing Ole Miss. Iowa's undefeated, not ranked yet. You got Nebraska undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
Just some pretty good records for our listening base, and that's just the men's.
Yeah. How's the women doing?
You got 10th ranked Iowa State. Mm-hmm. You got 11th ranked Iowa, and then Nebraska's undefeated. And, Audie Crooks, she's the number 2 scorer, averaging almost 26 points a game.
Number 2 scorer in the nation?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I did not know she was the number 2 scorer in the nation. That's crazy. Good for Audie. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Love seeing that. She's having a hell of a season starting off, man.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what this basketball season looks like.
Well, in Iowa State, we'll find out what their fate is, I believe, at the end of tonight in the Players Era tournament down in Vegas, because I don't understand the tiebreaker necessarily. It comes down to point differential and all sorts of stuff. But they're going to have one more game before they leave Vegas. And we'll find out who their next opponent is. But it's going to be somebody who fared fairly well over their last couple days in Vegas as well. So, and then Iowa State has to take on Purdue upcoming. And, of course, it's going to be a huge game. And then we do have the Hawkeyes looming here in the next couple weeks. So we'll have to see how it goes. Iowa City, they've got those boys playing tough. So we'll see. So that's a little bit of a rundown on basketball. And again, folks, as football season winds down, we're going to get a little bit more in depth on basketball. We're just talking about a very high level right now. Obviously, these teams are very early on. And as I saw somebody say so wisely last night, the NCAA tournament is not won in games in November and December. So, there's a lot more meat on the bone as we get later on in the season.
Well, and then that Big 12 basketball conference is a killer.
Good Lord, man. Just absolute. You hit it right on the head, 100%. Just an absolute killer. So we'll get into Nebraska and Iowa's games later on, but we are going to kick it off with a review of Iowa State and Kansas last week. Brett, we had Angus on last week, and he did such an amazing job of just covering Jayhawk history and where they are this season, his thoughts on them. And I'm going to be honest, he kind of hyped me up a bit for them going into it, and not in a saying this in a bad way. He was 100% spot on, and based off of Iowa State's recent performance, there wasn't a lot of faith in the fact they were going to be able to really contain Daniels from Kansas. And I was looking to probably see more from Kansas, but we didn't.
No,
There's really no other way to put it.
That game was bananas. I thought it would be close. After talking to Angus, I was kind of leaning towards Kansas playing for bowl eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
They might ruin senior day, but I'm glad Iowa State said, no, not today, sir.
Right. Very emotional day. Had a lot of great seniors that played their last day in Ames. You know, some points that stood out is Rocco Beck. Welcome back. The Rocco we knew was there, but we were just waiting to see. Guy had five incompletions. 5. So 18 to 23, throwing for 241 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, the other aspect of that, I'm not even going to single one out. Every receiver was making amazing catches. And Ben Bramer, like, I just continue to just be in awe of that man. The guy who some people thought died on the field a couple weeks ago just comes out there, and anything he threw Ben's way, Ben was catching. Eskelson making some amazing catches. And Soul made a few what seemed to be maybe game-saving catches earlier on. And just very few drops as compared to the rest of the season. Carson Hansen gets hurt in the game and comes back, still gets 22 carries for 120 yards and a touchdown. It's just, good
Dude's
Lord,
a beast.
Man. He's just, I'm so happy he's not graduating.
Happy he has additional eligibility, not that he's not going to school, not graduating.
Just happy that you got another year with us, buddy. And they kept the defense, and the secondary played tough, and they contained Daniels. Daniels is a guy that if you let him get in a rhythm running, like, you're screwed. We've seen it in the past, and they kept him relatively contained. They struggled to throw the ball. They struggled to run the ball. They really struggled all around. Now, granted, there were some key plays. Kansas did drive down the field where they could have scored and possibly maybe made it a little bit more of a game. And frickin' Neal, who played out of his mind, picks the ball off right down near the goal line. And that was pretty much game, set, match after that. All around, a great day for the Cyclones, a great day for an embattled defense. I'm not sitting here saying they contained Texas Tech, but a Kansas team that can light you up if you let them, as we saw last year in Arrowhead. And they did a great job, played tough, and now the boys got to go down to Stillwater, which we'll get into a little bit later on. But let's run through the rest of the Big 12. And, Brett, I'm going to let you pick the game.
So the TCU-Houston game.
Yes.
I was watching that, and I just kept thinking Houston's going to pull this out. Houston's going to pull this out.
Was that game not confusing as shit to watch?
Oh, the only one crazier than that was Kansas State.
Yeah.
Like, TCU, gutted it out.
Mm-hmm.
Houston, I'm sorry, I jinxed you when I was all in and, said you're going to the Big 12 championship game. You've done nothing but disappoint me.
Yep.
So I'm sorry if I'm ever down in Houston. Feel free to spit my burger because I deserve it.
So, but you mentioned the Utah game. This game was hard to watch due to the fact that TCU comes out and they were up 14-0. Yeah, they were up 14-0 essentially right off the bat. Hoover's just dropping dimes, and then it was just like, okay, this is the old Hoover, which he didn't. He threw for almost 300 yards, but it looked like he was just on a roll and going to be just dropping dimes all freaking day. And then they just kind of stalled out and let Houston just slowly work their way back in. One thing I wanted to point out with this game is that Wigman was actually threw for 15 of 29 for 161 yards and 2 touchdowns. I was not even paying attention to his rushing yards the entire game watching it. He ran for 114 yards. Connor Wigman, the guy has legs, but shit, I didn't realize he ran for that much. He was essentially their entire offense. Dean Connors for them had 75 yards, but good Lord. So I'm in Kansas City, and I think I had to fly. Yeah, I was mid-flight. I took off after TCU was up 14-0. Was watching the game on my flight, get an Uber, get to my hotel just in time to see the end of this. And that's when TCU had just kicked a field goal to take the lead. I shouldn't say just kicked a field goal to take the lead, but had taken the lead by a field goal. And then Houston gets the ball, they drive it down, and then they go to kick a field goal to tie it. And the poor field goal kicker for Houston, Sanchez, 38-yarder. This is one that he can knock home, and he freaking shanks it. And that's how Houston loses, man. And just like you said, Houston's kind of let you down a couple times this year, haven't they?
Yeah. Like, I jinxed them. It's me.
Well, Houston, any hopes they had of the Big 12 championship are fairly well gone at this point. TCU gets a much-needed win. They've got Cincy coming to town this weekend. All right, we're running down a few blowouts here. But before we do that, Oklahoma State, you damn near did it again. Central takes down Oklahoma State. So this was down in Orlando at the Bounce House. UCF takes the lead with a late field goal in the game. OSU gets the ball, and just in true fashion for the Oklahoma State season, they throw an interception, and that essentially ends the game. But there was no lack of offense from UCF's side. They had nearly 400 yards offense. We don't need to go into this game too much. It is what it is. Arizona just kicks the ever-living shit out of the Baylor Bears.
Arizona State kicked the crap out of Colorado.
Arizona State kicked the hell out of Colorado. The crazy thing about the Arizona-Baylor game is that it was 17-14 at half, and Zona just goes and like, you know what? We're just going to score 17 points. Don't worry about it. Baylor, just take a seat. But neither really Fafita nor Robertson had stellar days. It was mostly a rushing game that for both teams throughout the entire game. Arizona State, like you said, kicks the everything hell out of Colorado, but it was just a rushing party all around. For Arizona State, is they had 355 yards on the ground. Like, that is insane. 3 touchdowns. They were averaging almost 8 yards a carry. Raleek Brown, which, how in the hell did this guy not have a bigger? I don't know if I'll have to go back and look. I don't know if he was injured during the Iowa State game. What's going on? But this dude had 22 carries for 255 yards and a touchdown in that game. He averaged almost 12 yards a carry in the game. And then they had Kanye Udo, who had 9 carries for 62 yards and a touchdown. So it was just one big rushing party for him. Sims has 206 yards for 2 touchdowns and an interception. All around, it was a game we expected, or ended as we expected. Now, let's get to the evening game really quick. And BYU takes down Cincy and takes pretty firm control of that second spot in Arlington.
Yeah, they control their destiny now, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Texas Tech and BYU both, if they win out. And I looked at every article you could possibly imagine just to see, am I wrong in any way by assuming if BYU wins out and Texas Tech wins out, they will be in Arlington. The crazy thing is that any single one you look at, and I'm talking, you go to ESPN, you go to CBS Sports, you go to this, this website, that website, every single one of them talks about if BYU loses, here's the scenarios for 3 other teams that could possibly get in. They talk about Utah. They talk about Arizona State. They talk about who else was in there. That's pretty much just those 2. Arizona State and Utah are very much alive if one of these teams loses. Shit, man. If Texas Tech stumbles against Central this weekend, there is a chance, if the dominoes fall a certain way, that Texas Tech could not make the Big 12 championship.
That would be wild.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah,
again, last year, that's what's fun about this conference.
100%. So it's going to be a wild weekend.
By the way,
yeah,
my belief in the power of Cincinnati chili and Skyline chili is really fading. It's really fading.
I don't think it's working for you.
No. Like, they need to change it up.
And I don't know why you've had so much faith in this being able to boost the team with how many people I've talked to have said it's absolutely horrible anyways.
But, like, they were playing a home game. It was at night. Like, I really thought Cincy would pull that out and beat BYU.
Their fans were pretty rampant. I will say this, and we're not going to get into it. There was some stuff that their fans said during the game towards the BYU fan base that the school came out and the athletic department had to issue an apology. But we won't get into that. I'm sorry, BYU fans. You guys have to deal with that from multiple fan bases this year. Nobody ever wants to see that or hear of that from any fan base. So we're going to leave that aside. We love you, BYU fans. You guys are very much appreciated in the Big 12 Conference. A lot more than we can say about. There's another fan base out of Utah that people don't like as much, but we're not going to bring them up. Speaking of which, let's get into this weekend's game, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's kick it off on Black Friday, number one shopping day of the year, folks. 11 a.m. and Utah 9-2. Takes on as we just spoke of, Kansas Jayhawks. And Utah's coming into this an 11.5 point favorite in the ever-feared David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas. Boy, I'll tell you, I don't know if I've got a lot of faith in Kansas to pick themselves up off the ground after last weekend. I think, now granted, there's some motivation because, as Angus alluded to last week, there's bowl eligibility still on the line. They didn't have to win last weekend to make a bowl, but this gets them to 6 wins if they can pull it out. We've seen sneakier things, Brett.
My theme this week is chaos.
Chaos.
I think Kansas is going to beat Utah.
Okay.
They're going to become bowl eligible.
Okay.
I think Arizona is going to beat Arizona State.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, let's hold on until we get
for
to
right now.
Games.
That's just Black Friday.
So Utah, and this is something we both have to think about. Utah doesn't have to necessarily say we've got Big 12 championship aspirations on the line. Utah has to win, and they have to win big. And the reason is as we were recording here tonight, the CFP rankings got released. Utah is sitting one spot outside that top 12. They're sitting in 13th. And the College Football Committee has already said, if you beat the shit out of a team that means nothing by 40 points, or you win by 5 points over a team that's kind of average, it's going to help you a lot better to beat the hell out of a team that means nothing versus beating that team that's decent by a couple points. Now, granted, don't take me for gospel, anybody that's listening on that one. Those are my own words. But Utah is going to be motivated to come in here and just beat Kansas into the ground until they can't breathe. So I think my personal thought on this is I think Utah is going to come in, and that spread isn't even going to be close to how much they win this game.
I think Daniels is going to do what he does and work magic and
make a mess of things.
Bring chaos.
All right. Well, you heard it here, folks. So Brett thinks Daniels in Kansas might pull off the upset here. I'm thinking Utah is going to come in. And after the first half, there's not going to be any doubt. We'll see how it goes on Friday. Also on Friday at 8 p.m. on Fox, the in-state rivalry of Arizona State and Arizona. This is a home game for the Devils. This is essentially a pick 'em. It's a 1.5 point spread. Now, these are two teams that it depends on the week. They're both 8-3. This is an Arizona team that week to week, you don't know what you're going to get. This is an Arizona State team that lost their starting quarterback, and everybody thought they were going to lose every game the rest of the season. And look what they've done. I'm going to say that there's a lot more motivation in this game for Arizona State. I'm going to go against what I said again, with Utah, and I think Arizona State's going to maybe this might be too much pressure for Arizona State, and I think this is also an in-state rivalry. I think Arizona is going to come out there and take care of business. I think Fafita is going to end the game or end the Big 12 season on a high note, and he's going to take him to town. That's my thought.
I agree.
And I think Ishmael Mahdi is going to run through him just like crazy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Arizona, kind of looking at it in-state, Arizona State make the Big 12 or win the Big 12 championship last year, make the playoffs. They want to go and just punch them in the face.
I think the news is out on Jeff Sims, too. I think Arizona is going to be well aware of what they got to do. So we'll have to see. I'm sure there was a bunch of other schools that also felt the same way. Let's go to the other game that we do want to talk about a bit, and that's Cincinnati coming down here to TCU. Now, again, these are teams that I don't know really how much motivation is going to be, how inspired they'll be. TCU and Cincinnati, teams that, it's like depending again on what website you look at. There's probably some website out there that says Cincinnati's still got hope of making the Big 12 championship. That's very, very very slim if there are any. Cincinnati coming down here, Fort Worth. Hoover for a bit looked like the beginning of the season. Hoover last weekend. And Sorsby, Sorsby didn't have a bad game himself last week. He threw for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. And ultimately, the reason for their loss last week was the fact that Sorsby was also their leading rusher, and he only had 38 yards. But we've seen TCU in person. We didn't see a TCU team that went out to BYU and just got freaking destroyed. I see TCU not having it in them to contain Sorsby. I see them coming down here and putting TCU to bed.
Yeah, I think so too. Like,
I think it's
what's
going to be a
TCU
shootout,
playing for?
Yeah.
They're already bowl eligible. They'll probably go to some bowl here in Texas. I just think Cincinnati's going to come and they'll pull it out.
The X factor is going to be Cincinnati's defense. So if they can shut down Dwyer and McAllister, then they got them. If they can't, and there hasn't really been anybody that's struggled terribly with those two. Those two have been able to put up yards. It's just, getting yards and touchdowns are two completely different things. So we'll have to see. So I also predict, I think Cincinnati's going to take care of business. Let's get through some other games that are upcoming this weekend. Let's start early. Texas Tech heads down to Morgantown. So West Virginia has been a pesky team to some. They've been swatted away by others. And as much as I would love to say, old Scotty Fox, if for West Virginia, might have it in him for them to put up a fight, I'm not seeing it. Not this team.
Like, Tech is so good. But again, theme is chaos. I think the yellow and blue fox is going to get into the hen house.
Buddy, you are stretching.
I think West Virginia is going to pull an upset.
Don't you even, dude, now come on.
Yes, I'm calling it.
You're calling this?
The yellow and blue fox is getting in the hen house.
There are stretches, and then there is just, what did he say type stretch. Come on.
It's crazy until it's true.
That's true. There's a reason that Texas Tech is a 24.5-point favorite, which I think they're going to cover comfortably. I think this game might be 30-3 at the end of the first. All right, folks. Okay, Brett's sticking with chaos. All right, so I'm gonna say that Texas Tech and that freaking high-powered offense just destroys West Virginia. But Brett's thinking that West Virginia may have an ace up their sleeve. Also at 11 a.m. on TNT, Houston with Connor Wegman, old legs Wegman from last week. They're heading to Waco to take on a Baylor team that, wow, preseason we were talking about them. They were talking about Robertson and this high-powered passing offense being a team that should be playing for Arlington right now playing for bowl eligibility at 5-6. Dave Aranda was just confirmed to be the head coach of Baylor for next year. So hot seat gets a little cooler for him for 365 days. That's just a statement now by Baylor. I don't know if anything's been inked, but this could be a game where if Houston comes in and takes care of business, we might be talking about Baylor looking for a coach in the offseason. Who knows? But I'm going to say Houston comes to town and takes care of business here. I think that they're hurting a bit after that. I think that they want to finish on a high note.
I think Baylor becomes bowl eligible.
Okay.
Spoke about how Houston has just let me down.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with Baylor.
All right. We're calling this episode Common Sense versus Nonsense. All right.
I do keep trying to cut you off because you are getting a little crazy.
I will say, yeah, I know, right? My crazy predictions. I will say that's like the most sensible one you've probably made so far.
Well, right. ESPN has them at a 58% chance. Baylor.
Really?
Yeah.
What is the spread on this? I guess Baylor is the favorite. God, maybe I'm the dumbass.
We can listen to all the other episodes. No, not out of the two of us.
All right. Colorado heads to Manhattan. 5-6 Kansas State, taking on 3-8 Colorado. Are we going to finally agree on one?
Because Kansas State becomes bowl eligible.
Yeah, I agree too. I don't think Colorado, that team isn't even playing like they want to finish the season right now. There ain't much left to be said. That's 11 a.m. on FS1. And then at noon, Bull Central travels to Provo, and they take on a team that has to win to not have to deal with a tiebreaker to get into Arlington. The number 11 BYU Cougars have Central coming to town, and Central has given some people some fits, but it ain't happening this week. If BYU could go to Cincy and not even just hold on, their defense stepped up, because the true story of that Cincinnati BYU game in the second half was the fact that Cincy turned the ball over a couple times and really let BYU kind of put the locks down on them. But I don't see UCF or Central being able to do what Cincy did. You've already got a look on your face. I already know what direction
What's
you're going.
the theme?
All right.
What's the theme of
Mr.
my
Chaos?
picks?
All right.
So I'm actually going to go BYU big.
Okay.
I think BYU wins the Big 12 outright.
Wow.
I don't think Central will come to play. I don't know if they care about being bowl eligible.
So you think that Texas Tech is going to fall into a tiebreaker scenario, and BYU is going to be the team that is the lock into the Big 12? Wow. Holy moly. Boy, I'll tell you, I hope nobody listens to this episode and says, you know what, I'm going to put money on this.
Oh, if they won, that's their fault.
That's an interesting one. All right. So we agree on that one. Okay. Last but not least, the game in our hearts. Unranked in your hearts and unranked on our programs. But the Iowa State Cyclones, come on down to Stillwater for the most enjoyable fan base in the Big 12 this season. God love you, Poke fans. But our boys are coming to town, and we got old Rocco back, hopefully, for the last game of the regular season. Carson Hansen's running hot. Now, Oklahoma State has had some inspired losses, but I see our boys coming out of this with a 10 to 14 point victory.
Yeah, I think easily. I don't think Oklahoma State fans, or should I say fan, will rush the field because they upset Iowa State. I think it'll be easy win. Rocco looked really good, was throwing the ball amazing. Wide receivers were catching it, and the run game.
Not dropping it.
Nah.
Well, interestingly enough, anybody who listens to the episode, that's down here in this area or relatively within driving distance of Stillwater like we are. Last I looked, you can get tickets for $9-12 to the games. You almost wondered as like, oh, big news. This is somewhat breaking news. This doesn't impact the game this weekend at all. But UNT's soon-to-be former head coach, Eric Morris, who has led the Mean Green on a very successful run this season, is heading to Stillwater starting next year. So things may be looking up. I think this is a fantastic hire. I think this is a hell of a head coach. God help the rest of the Big 12 if he brings his offense with him. Because I'll tell you, if he can do, it'd be similar to like a Cignetti to Indiana type scenario, where Cignetti brought just a few of those key players from James Madison to Indiana. Or shit, I mean, you even look at Dion. Dion bringing Hunter and his boys from Jackson State to Colorado. I mean, he could go up there and they could piece something together right quick and in a hurry, and we could all be in trouble. So this is me and maybe my somewhat love for Oklahoma State. I've had that for years. I've always held a special place in my heart for the football team in Stillwater, dating all the way back to the days when I was in high school and watching them play some amazing games against, the Big 8 and the Big 12. And I really hope that this is good news for them. So I guess the question I was just going to ask, I wonder if like fans right now even really give a shit if they win this game.
So I was thinking about that because I was looking at tickets, and it's Thanksgiving break.
Yeah.
So and that's where I made that comment, like their one fan might rush the field if they win.
Yeah.
I just think there's not very much interest in it. And then having all the college kids home, they're not going to pay $8 and go take their shirts off and wave them around.
That's true. All right. So I think we're both predicting a solid victory by Iowa State. Now, we might have just screwed ourselves in saying that.
We did.
Well, I think it's a 10 to 14 point victory. I think Iowa State finishes the season on a strong note, and then hold the Liberty Bowl. No, I'm just kidding. Wherever we go, on to play Memphis. All right. Well, that's a rundown of the Big 12's games. So we are going to hop into our Herky and Herbie portion of the episode, H&H Corner. here on the Loyal Sons, and we're going to start it off, Brett, with Nebraska visiting not so Happy Valley this weekend. And I can't quite remember off the top of my head without going back and listening to last week's episode, but did you not predict Nebraska to win?
I did. And then on top of that, I get a call from my Uncle Bobby. I call him UB. And UB told me, he's like, man, I got a surefire pick for you.
Oh, God.
Nebraska is going to kill Penn State. So I'm not sure which one of us jinxed Nebraska, but one of us did.
I have learned this year in college football, anytime anybody says the words surefire pick or lock, just avoid it like the plague. It's just like you listen to Iowa everywhere with Hassel and Williams, and they have their locks. Williams has been doing okay. Hassel had a rough start, but then you look at like Bears picks, and you look at Stanford Steve on ESPN, and Stanford Steve had a worse record than McAfee and Herbstreit and the rest of those guys for a while. But Nebraska, for the fans that are listening to this, y'all walked into Happy Valley, and in your defense and in Nebraska's defense, this is what some people consider a team without a full-time coach, a starting quarterback, but they still, as many will say, they still have top-tier talent on this team. Katron Allen made that very apparent this weekend as he became Penn State's leading career rusher of all time, and he had 160 yards for 2 touchdowns. But both teams really relied heavily on a rushing game. Nebraska's passing game was pretty ineffective. I mean, really, their entire offense was pretty well ineffective. But really, what killed Nebraska is the fact that multiple times, and in the first quarter, now mind you, I flew to Kansas City this weekend, so I get in and I'm cozied up to a sports bar in Kansas City just in time for this game to start. And twice I see Nebraska drive down into, Penn State territory. I look away for a split second. Penn State has the ball back, and they're running down the field. And I noticed Nebraska doesn't have any points on the board. But Penn State's point total continues to go up. I kept missing these plays. Now, I went back and rewatched some of it, and Nebraska just on 4th down conversions, they were like right basically in Penn State's end zone and went for it on 4th down and gave it back to Penn State. And it took 0 time at all. And Penn State was right back down in their end of the field. Not a lot to be said in this game about Nebraska other than the fact that Penn State's defense really stood up for them, obviously, in holding Nebraska at only 10 points.
I was just really surprised. I thought Nebraska would blow them out of the water, but that did not happen at all.
I was wrong too. I said this was going to be a final field goal type situation. Penn State would eke it out at the end. Well, perfect segue into this, more into the other team that we cover in the H&H Corner. And we have a special guest joining us. Cam Fuller is joining us, who is a lifelong Iowa fan, also sponsor, if you want to call it, leader for the DFW Iowa Club. Cam has been friends with us for a while, and she is a diehard Iowa fan in all ways, not only football, but men's and women's basketball, you name the sport, and Cam follows them. She is the person that is constantly pestering you to go out and watch women's basketball games, which for most men, in most cases, prior to Caitlin Clark coming on the scene, we're like, why the hell would I go to a sports bar to watch a women's basketball game? But here we are. All right. Well, welcome, Cam.
Well, thank you. I'm hoping that now there's a name with all those, a friend of mine stories that you share on your podcast here.
Yes.
I am the one that gives you a hard time about hedging against those Iowa State losses, but yes.
It is true. Yes, even Mike and I referred to you as I was talking about how Mike, his way of watching games differs than that, from that of like a normal fan. So Cam, walk us through before we get into that, what'd you think of the Nebraska game this weekend?
Well, I will be honest, I did not watch.
A Hawkeye fan did not watch Nebraska play?
No, I'm not sure why. I think that maybe I had entertained too many cocktails. The past couple of weeks, Iowa games have been gloriously interrupted by my daughter's performance, so I haven't gotten to truly enjoy a full Saturday college football day in a while, so I took advantage of that.
That's fair. Did you guys have a watch party for the Iowa-Michigan State game going on that day as well?
Yes, we have them every game, so yeah.
All right. So walk us through your history as a Hawkeye fan.
Okay.
Like, not the entire history. You don't have to go through like, hey, you know what? And in 1994, just go
when
through
I was
like
in fourth grade, I got this Iowa shirt.
Right.
So, yeah, no, I definitely was wearing black and gold in infancy. Both my parents are Iowa grads. My dad's a first-generation college student. My mom went to nursing school. They got married before they ended their college careers there, so it was not a choice for me. It was just what we did. Mom and dad are both huge fans. They were season ticket holders. So I went to my first Iowa football game when I was probably about 5 or 6. I'm sure it was a non-conference early in the season game. My dad was probably hungover. Yeah. And I went to basketball games all the time. I mean, some of my earliest memories are my whole family sitting around in the winter watching Iowa basketball. I mean, Iowa basketball, Iowa football has been appointment television in my life since I, could walk. So
of course.
That's where it comes from. My brother went to Iowa for undergrad and his MBA. I applied to Iowa because it was like a given. I like to say that I'm still kind of like a redshirt junior at the University of Iowa. I still have some eligibility left. No degree, but a really good Trivial Pursuit knowledge.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
And I recall seeing a photo of was it a 1980? What year was that? The Rose Bowl? 1985.
Rose Bowl, yes.
Pretty significant Rose Bowl in Iowa history.
Thank you.
You and I have had some disagreements on a particular running back and a performance in that game.
I don't know about disagreements. If you go back and watch the highlights from his entire season, he carried the ball like a loaf of bread. So all you would have had to do was watch some of that film. And you would have gotten those balls.
All right. Well, we'll agree to disagree.
It was a painful experience to be out there at UCLA's home stadium playing in the Rose Bowl against them. My family is like 0-5 on Rose Bowl appearances.
Brett refuses to stick to this, but if a team loses enough and I travel to go see them, I just stop traveling to go see them away from their home stadium.
Yeah. You're smarter than me. I just forget.
I don't make it to enough games to make that kind of decision.
That is true.
I don't travel.
That is true.
You do.
No, you guys do a pretty significant job of going to their bowl games, though. I have not traveled to many Iowa State bowl games. However, we'll see where they go this year.
But do you really want to go to Memphis or Boise?
That is true.
Or New York City in the winter.
Yeah, New York City in the winter is awful. Yeah. That is. We've been to Orlando a number of times back to back. So
freaking Kentucky. All right, so Cam, fill us in a little bit about this. So with the DFW I Club, you guys host a lot of events. There's a lot of different things you guys do. I became aware of a lot of it when y'all were going just absolutely crazy when Caitlin Clark was having her run with Iowa. And that was kind of when I started finding out through you a lot about their events. But it's continued on. So what's your involvement with them? And then what are the things that you do now for them?
Okay. Well, first of all, I have to correct you because you can only be an I Club if you're in the state of Iowa. So if you're outside the state of Iowa, you're an Iowa Alumni Club. So we are the DFW Iowa Club. But yeah, we are a group. There's a board of about probably 25 of us now.
Okay.
I just actually joined the board. I've been pretty active as a non-board member for a long time, but just joined the board this last January. Got voted secretary because I was late to the meeting, but here I am being the secretary, so that sucks. But that's a typical, Iowa Alumni Association stab, right? Like you're late to the meeting.
I was going to be president, and I showed up late to the meeting.
Yeah. So we certainly pride ourselves on the game watches. We have 3 game watches for every single Iowa football game. Okay. And we probably get between 175 to 300 people every Saturday, if at all 3 not each
combined,
but all combined together. And we've traveled a little bit around the city. The primary club for the whole time has been a place called Bryan Street Tavern. It's downtown. And
downtown
that is
Dallas?
Yes, downtown Dallas. So that gets a lot of young people. And we have a location typically in Midtown area that's kind of gone from Euless to Bedford to Fort Worth. Gotcha. And then we have this northern one, which has been at the Louisville Buffalo Wild Wings for years. Like my kids were both babies there. Then we left for a while and ventured around, and now we're back to Buffalo Wild Wings this year. So we
first Iowa watch party I ever attended was at that Buffalo Wild Wings.
I'm sure it was.
Your son wasn't old enough to even remember it, and he was talking trash to me because it was during the Iowa State-Iowa game.
Yep, I'm sure that's true as well. He is a good trash talker. I don't know where he learned that kind of behavior from.
No, not at all.
So we do a bunch of obviously the football game watches. We try to do 2 or 3 basketball games each season, men's and obviously, like you said earlier, women's. The women's Final Four was here. We had a great big event for that. We had a suite, got a meet and greet with the team. The president of our association or of our alumni association is Kyle Wick. He's fantastic, super involved. Our chapter wins national awards all the time for
that's cool.
Participation, attendance. We do a lot. There's actually a lot of Big Ten stuff. So there's a Big Ten blood drive that we participate in, but we do a social every year with the Big Ten schools where all the alumni associations of all the Big Ten schools get together somewhere in the Dallas area. The baseball team comes here. So we do that. I think you went to the Iowa wrestling that was at Texas.
I didn't get to make it to that. No.
Yeah.
And when they wrestled Oklahoma State.
Yep. So we travel to Oklahoma City sometimes for the wrestling there. So it's just a community that works together to get people together within the Dallas area, but from Iowa. And then
great.
we sell T-shirts, we sell raffle
tickets. Some of them are really
tickets.
cool. I've seen them.
Yeah. And all of the proceeds of any of that goes to the University Scholarship Program, in which our chapter awards scholarships to people that live in Dallas that want to go to the University of Iowa.
Very cool.
What if they want to go to Iowa State?
I don't
then
think
they would have to seek out the help of the Iowa State Alumni Association.
The secretary of said club could not help a fellow podcaster.
I mean, I'm sure I could get him in contact with some people at the Iowa State Alumni Association.
Your face right now.
I don't know what that is. I'm glad this is not being. Everyone that's listening, be happy that you didn't just see Brett's face.
Yeah, right.
Very questionable.
It was like a look between mischievous and I'm constipated. I couldn't tell which one it was.
I am a little both.
Okay. It is almost Thanksgiving. That should take care of things for you quick. And the other, and even going along with that whole Caitlin Clark theme, so it wasn't too long ago. Cincy was down here playing against the Dallas Fever. Didn't they all kind of hook you guys up with getting tickets to go to the game?
Yeah. So every time Fever comes to play the Wings, we get advanced seating, we get a section, we do some meet and greets with the team. One of the coolest things that they get to do is we get to participate with our kids and line the locker room hallway entrance.
Heck yeah.
As the Fever are coming out, there's a bunch of Iowa fans greeting them.
Very cool.
It is really cool how involved we have been. And, the Dallas Wings have been so great working with us that a lot of us have gotten tickets to the Wings just because we've had such a great experience with how they've treated our group coming for the Fever games. We just work with them quite a bit. It's really exciting, especially now that Paige is there. I can't wait till this comes.
Heck yeah. I'm that guy. There's very few players in the WNBA I'm a follower of. Caitlin is one of them. I don't think anybody can not follow. If you watch basketball at all, can not follow her even a little bit. I mean, there's Nebraska fans and Iowa State fans. I'm sure there's all those haters out there that try to say they don't follow. It's like, sorry, but even if you're hating on them, you're following them. But Paige Beckers is one of them.
Oh yeah, man, she's
so love the fact that she's down here.
Well, next one coming up is going to be Hannah Hidalgo. She plays for Notre Dame right now. She's going to be outstanding.
Well, I believe the Wings have. I believe the Wings have the number 1 pick again, don't they?
And they do. They just released that lottery. So that would be fantastic. I would definitely get more season tickets to the Wings if Hannah Hidalgo goes there.
Thank you for that rundown of the DFW Iowa club. My mistake. I've been to a number of different Iowa State alumni / Iowa State promotional groups in this area, and I will say, the DFW Iowa club they outdo each of them. It's been pretty awesome to see. Now, with that, we're going to transition back into this last weekend's game where Iowa played Michigan State. And I was talking to you guys before we started recording here. And Iowa, as I said, beat Michigan State in pretty much the most Iowa way possible. As Brett and I were talking about this last week, Iowa coming off a tough loss to USC, which there was a controversial call at the end of it. There was pouring rain, just a sloppy freaking mess. One team was the tough team the first half. The other team comes out in the second half and pulls out the victory, and Iowa, unfortunately, comes out on the short end of the stick. And then Michigan State comes to town, a winless conference team, and when Brett and I were discussing it, I think we kind of both shared in the fact that we thought Iowa they're going to pick themselves up off the ground, maybe be a little pissed off, and just knock Michigan State's you-know-what in the dirt on senior day, walk away with a statement. Unfortunately, Iowa decided to do differently. I shouldn't say unfortunately. I mean, fortunately for them, they came out with a win, like I said, in the most Iowa way possible. they allowed Michigan State with this freshman quarterback, Vicevic, 25 of 42 for 255 yards and 2 touchdowns, which I did not expect. Yeah. What was the vibe watching the game of the watch party?
Nerves. Just a lot of nervous tension. A lot
wondering what the hell's going on.
Yeah. A lot of pacing. A lot of, no, you got to sit over there because you sat there the last 2 weeks and stupid shit like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And there was a meme that got sent around after the Michigan State game. I think I sent it to you, but it was basically, this is how I feel after I had lost all hope and then lost whatever hope I didn't even know I had.
Yes.
Yeah. So because we went into Oregon thinking, God, we could maybe do this. And then we were like, oh, it's over. And then we dropped 1 spot in the ranking. But then we're like, well, shit, maybe there's still something here. We go up 21 to, I mean, what the hell?
Shit, I was Brett and myself, and I can't remember if Jared was with us that week or not, but we got done recording, and this was after everybody had kind of written Iowa off as far as playoff hopes, and then the rankings came out that night, and I texted Mike and I said, I think Iowa still has a shot. And he essentially responded, yeah, shockingly, yes, they do. And then USC happened, of course. Yeah. But shot is gone at this point.
Right, but I mean, while we're sitting there in the Michigan State game watching, we're all just thinking, what happened?
Yes, fair enough. I mean, and that's a fair thing to be wondering.
You know, it was like the week after the Penn State loss at Oregon, I was like, Oregon just broke Penn State into 100 pieces and nobody can pick them back up. Right. Except Nebraska, apparently.
Apparently Nebraska figured out a way to pick up Penn State from the ground and show them how to play football again.
But yeah, so, Drew Stevens was picked 89% field goals his freshman year. Sophomore year, 68%. Junior year, 88%. And right now, I swear he's got that word that starts with Y that baseball players don't talk about.
The yips?
Yeah, that's what I was not wanting you to say, but yes.
Why don't we say yips?
He kicked the game-winning field goal. I mean, come on.
But he missed one earlier, and it wouldn't have been a game winner. And the one that he should have made was that one earlier in the season, and it's a whole different ballgame.
And that's why I said they won in the most Iowa way. Like, they just slowly just trudged it out. And then at the end of the game...
Oh, we'll let them score. We'll have plenty of time on the other end.
We're going to give you hope. And then they get down the field. They just kind of move their way down. Gronowski threw for 147.
That's about
both quarter. That's his average anymore.
Yeah, modus operandi, right?
Iowa's rushing game was solid, but not killing anybody.
Right.
And then Stevens kicks a 44-yard field goal that probably looked like it could have been good kicking it from your own 30 because he nailed that thing. It was impressive.
Payton Wedgen for the Heisman, man. Let's go.
You think so, huh?
I tell you what. I mean, we wouldn't be in that game without him.
That is true.
He broke the record. He broke Tim Dwight's record for return touchdowns.
Your boy. He broke your boy's record. You know what's funny is there's probably a lot of Hawkeye fans in the state of Iowa that also say he's their college crush.
I'm sure there is.
Based off the amount of posters I'd see hanging on walls when I was in my late teens and 20s.
For sure.
Yeah, so they pull it out. I was talking to Brett earlier today. Both teams that we cover play each other this weekend on wonderful Black Friday. Iowa versus Nebraska. Just fans hate each other. Teams hate each other, especially if you are in Nebraska or Iowa. Fans down here that have never lived up there, they have a taste of it. They don't know it. They don't know what it's like unless you've been to Lincoln, unless you've been to Iowa City, or just lived in those states.
And the best example I have of the lack of understanding of the two cultures is when I was working at the firm that we used to work at in about 2000. Well, time frame doesn't matter. But I'm on the conference call with my other leadership team. There's 7 of them. They're all in Omaha and me down in Texas. And it's a Friday in the fall. And one of the guys says, man, Cam, what's it like? Is it just solid burnt orange through that whole building?
Nope.
And I said, actually, not at all. In fact, I would say burnt orange is maybe 4th or 5th on the list.
A lot of Nebraska
Number 1 is burgundy for Aggies. Number 2 is probably Sooners.
Maybe.
Then you have Tech. I mean, Tech, and back then, during that genre or their era, Texas wasn't that great. But it was beyond comprehension for those guys to think that not every single person there was wearing the same color.
You mean it wasn't a Red Out Friday?
Yeah.
Or Burnt Orange Friday.
Yeah.
That kind of leads us into my next question. Before we even get into talking about the game, and I have it bulleted out here for anybody listening, and that was, why does Cam not like Nebraska?
You can say hate, Nolan. It's fair.
Okay, so why does Cam hate Nebraska? As an Iowa fan, I want people to get the true feeling. What is it about Nebraska, or not necessarily the team, but what is it about Nebraska, just their fan base in general, that Iowa fans hate so much?
So I moved to Omaha in 1998, and I don't know if you know this, but I'm a little bit direct in my communication style.
Wouldn't have known.
I know, right? Shocking.
Right.
But I would get into it a lot about Iowa versus Nebraska, or at the time, Big Ten versus the Big 12 conversations. And the lack of respect in the fandom is the piece that bothered me so much, because I would get over and over, why would you not become a Nebraska fan being here?
Just because you live on that side of the river.
And why it's so much fun to cheer for Nebraska. We win all the time. Why don't you want to be a fan of our team? I wish I could handpick those people and pull them out and be like, okay, so how do you feel about it now? Because now you're a Nebraska fan when other people are telling you your team is terrible, but you're still a Nebraska fan, just like I was. But there was zero, and I mean zero, understanding and comprehension and respect for being true blood fan. It's like, I'm not going to cheer for the Patriots when the Patriots were there. I'm not an Alabama fan I am an Iowa fan, period. And these Nebraska guys would just rake me over the coals for it.
And what was the number one thing they always, if you had any argument with them whatsoever, any dispute with them whatsoever, what was the number one thing back then that always got brought up?
Well, you have to realize the fall of 1998, right after I moved there, we won 3 games.
Yes, I know. But what is the number one question that every Nebraska fan back then would ask any school if a fan was getting into a dispute with them about how good Nebraska was versus how good their team is? Actually,
well, they would talk about their national championship. I mean, that's all you ever heard.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, and I would immediately be like, well, I mean, do you want to wrestle? I mean, if you're I'd love to have that argument. And these guys
takedowns for $1.
In recent years, though, Nebraska's gotten pretty damn good at wrestling, so we can't even argue that anymore. But
times change, right? Like,
sure.
You know, now if I had those same arguments today, they would be different. I can remember bringing up Troy Davis stat lines, being like, you think you're better, but head to head rushing defense, we held them to 5 yards less than you did. And then I would typically get you got a fat ass, and the guy would walk away and go to the bar and get more beer.
What a terrible comeback.
Well, I mean, once you get into like specific stats from games, they quickly run away from you. But
it happens. Every fan base has them. And I would even
try at the time to talk about Big 12 versus Big 10, and they would just belittle the shit out of that. I mean, they couldn't. I say I don't like to categorize people and generalize people.
Oh yeah.
It was
not saying
brutal.
every fan. You're just saying the ones that you
brutal
with.
To live in Omaha during those times.
So like having that like conversation of Big 12 versus Big 10. I believe when Nebraska made the move to the Big 10, they had a certain attitude. How did that sit with Iowa fans and Big 10 fans?
Well, I mean, obviously we were offended initially, and now we all kind of laugh about it collectively.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
I think we're going to lose Nebraska listeners on this because it's funny, Mike brought this up as well. He said, yeah, Nebraska's come to the Big Ten. They haven't done shit.
9-1 against Iowa in the last 10 years. 9-1.
That is true.
Nebraska fans are welcome here. We are a welcoming.
We are. We're just going to have to balance this out by having one of our Nebraska connections on.
You know what? I actually, right before this call started, I thought, you know what? These guys are going to have a Nebraska fan on to fight with me today. And
I might hit up Rozier and see if he wants to join at some point in time. I haven't talked to him for a while, but Mike and I used to know each other. Boy, that would be an interesting one to have on because that guy had no filter whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, I can, even before we're in the same conference, I can remember 8, 9, 10 years old telling a joke to people about why all the trees in Iowa lean to the west.
Because Nebraska sucks.
Well, and Illinois blows. So it kind of, it all works together.
It's hard to pick on Illinois anymore, though, isn't it?
Nope. It's very
Nope.
easy.
That was the funny thing I brought up when I was talking with Mike a while back, was when he was on here. We were asking him, one of the questions we asked him was, understanding where the Nebraska-Iowa hatred came from, because before they moved to the Big Ten, maybe it was just somewhat ignorance, just never paid attention to it. I was used to Nebraska and Iowa having one mutual hatred at that point in time, which Nebraska hated Iowa State because Nebraska didn't really like anybody in the Big 12, which is fine. They did their fair share of ass kicking when they're in the Big 12. So you can't hold that against them. And Iowa State fans, we didn't really talk much shit either because there wasn't really much to talk about. But then Iowa fans did their fair share of dishing it due to it being an in-state rivalry, which makes total sense. But the one thing I never picked up on was Iowa and Nebraska actually hating each other. And then Nebraska moves to the Big Ten, and all of a sudden Iowa State just kind of gets moved out of the middle ground, and then we just basically are the bystanders just sitting there watching it. Other than, as Mike and I discussed at one point, the random Nebraska fan, or you say, well, you root for Iowa State, or you're Iowa State fan, they go, oh, man, I hate playing you guys. Well, you haven't played us since, I don't know. Well, no, we play you guys every year. Oh, God, you don't even know the difference, do you? Friggin' knuckleheads. Well, that takes us into this. Iowa and Nebraska play each other this weekend. Now, it's crazy that there is a lot of weight on this game, but it is not the weight that we were looking at 3-4 weeks ago. Because at one point in time, we were talking, this could be potentially a game that decides if one of you maybe had a shot at not only the Big Ten title game, if the two steamrollers in the Big Ten got tripped up. But that hasn't happened.
When Dylan went down, I honestly thought we might be facing Nebraska going for bowl eligibility, honestly.
And a lot of people did. I wondered that as well. And now Dylan's out, came up against some good teams in USC and Oregon and held their own in each of them. This is an Iowa team that has 4 losses by 25 points?
Yeah,
I think it is total.
Very, very Nebraska. So I would like to not focus on.
Okay. Well, we'll move on from that.
For my 1-score losses.
And where I was going with this is the fact that now the two teams play each other, both with a 7-4 record. You guys are 1 game ahead of them in the Big Ten standings, which it doesn't mean shit if you finish 6th or 7th or 5th or 6th. But ultimately, between these two teams, it does. Regardless of being 9-1 against Nebraska over the last 10 years, if Iowa loses, you're not going to hear the end of it for the next 365 days.
This is the only game that I truly feel.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So if Nebraska wins, you will not be somebody to be around for quite a while.
No, you won't like me very much.
Fair enough.
I'll carry that all year. I really will.
What if he wears one of those cool, corn cob hats that they have?
No, you can wear it.
I would not be caught dead with that thing.
What the hell do I have to wear it for?
Because it'd be funny.
Although the corn is better in Iowa. I don't know if you saw the Kirk Ferentz, Matt Rule interviews this week. The Big Ten Network put them out, and they asked about the corn, and then they showed 3 different pictures of different kinds of corn, and Rule didn't know any of them, and Kirk Ferentz, of course, knew every single one.
Really?
Yep.
That's impressive. I would hope so. If you have America Needs Farmers on your helmet, you better damn sure know your corn and soybeans.
You would think.
All right.
So, we lose to Oregon, and I'm disappointed, yes, but my son is in a depressive state for 24 hours, 48 hours. And then the rankings come out, and he is back up to cloud 9. I was like, dude, you need to calm down. And I mean, he's had winning seasons his whole life.
Yeah. But there's much more of a team feel behind this team than there has been some teams in the past decade. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's led by Gronowski and
that leadership of Gronowski. I don't think Spencer was a good leader.
Well, yeah.
I don't think his team believed in him. Gronowski, his team believes in him and believes in where he could take them.
Who wouldn't believe in Spencer Petras? Come on. I mean, one of the strongest quarterbacks. I say this jokingly.
Yeah, I know.
Had a great career at Utah State afterwards, and then who knows after that?
No, he had a great 3 games, and then it kind of dwindled.
And I'm not gonna pick on a college athlete.
Yeah, we don't pick on college athletes here.
I'm just having fun with the Iowa fans. But Yeah, so Gronowski comes in. This team truly has played like a team. And they've kind of taken y'all back to some of the good old days as far as defense has not been the same as like a typical Iowa defense.
No, it's not a typical Iowa defense at all.
No, but they have found ways to grind it out and win games just outside of 4 slip-ups. Anyways, so they play this weekend. Now, there's a lot of things going on in the media about Nebraska. I heard Brandon Walker for Barstool Sports at one point say the fact that, maybe it wasn't Brandon, I don't want to misquote, but on Unnecessary Roughness and watching their show last week, somebody mentioned that whether Nebraska fans want to admit it or not, Matt Rule is not completely out of the question still for the Penn State job, regardless of the extension that they offered him. Yep. And then on top of it, Dayton Raiola decommits from Nebraska, which is not a good sign in any situation. You don't know what the situation is with Dylan. You know, he's got a season-ending injury. This is a kid who we saw it when he was coming out of high school. He committed, then decommitted, then committed, then decommitted, transferred around to a bunch of their high schools. There's a lot of stuff going on there. And I guess leading into that, how do you think this game's going to go?
Well, so I like all of that brewing because one of the things that I really hate, I hate to play a team after they got annihilated. I don't like because they were embarrassed and they're going to, I mean, if I was a coach and a leader, I would be poking that bear as much as I possibly could about
that's why I ask
forward. Yeah, that makes me so nervous. I would have rather them played close and lost at the end or won.
I'm not a rumor mill stirrer here, but it almost makes me wonder what's going on behind the scenes that nobody else knows about. Because TJ Lateef is he's proven that he's a decent quarterback. Yep. Mm-hmm. Nebraska's quarterback stable is they got a lot of continuity there. They really do, even though everybody's going to say knows any of the names behind Dylan Raiola all the way up until Dylan Raiola gets hurt. But they got Emmett Johnson, who's a hell of a running back. They have receivers. And that offense, Penn State is not a team that defensively has been dominating people. But yet they dominated the shit out of this offense last week. And it almost makes you wonder, what is going on that we don't?
Yeah. Well, and that Raiola rumor, I think, is big time.
It's very big. Very big. So your prediction for the game, because this is in Lincoln.
It is. My son is going to be there. Isn't that funny?
Oh, he is going?
Well, he'll find out tomorrow. He's got to make sure they have to get all their work done.
Just tell him to be careful up there. It's like you run your mouth in some of those stadiums. You never know what's going to happen, right? Nebraska fans, though,
Nebraska fans are the best in the world. They're so friendly.
I've never had a problem in Lincoln with Nebraska fans, so they've always been very welcoming.
I get that. I think in the stadium they are. And
Brett, when was the last time you were in Memorial Stadium?
Gosh, it had to be 14 years ago, 15 years ago, like maybe when Jackson was born. I went there.
Why?
Free tickets, and I've never gone.
Like they gotta get those sellouts, guys. They gotta get the sellout. We'll give anybody a ticket.
It's just fun to ask Brett, why were you at a football game? And you always get the most random responses. Unless it was a Packers game, it's just always the most random reason. Well, I had a cousin that came in from Guadalupe. And
like the only time I've ever really gone to Lincoln is for layups and lap dances.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
It was a great tradition.
Why it lasted. Anymore, man.
Well, this is pre-Frost.
The last time I was in Lincoln was for the wonderful 9-7 Iowa State victory with a backup quarterback and backup running back and 8 or 9 turnovers by Nebraska and just an absolute mountain. Their fans were extremely friendly the entire time. We all sat in confusion as the game went on. But yeah, Cam, you were saying?
Well, I was just going to say that I'm going to give a crazy prediction.
Okay.
I think that's where we started a while back, is you asking me for a prediction.
Yep. So, what is your crazy prediction?
24.
Okay.
To 7. They're letting the balloons go in the fourth quarter.
Oh, you're pinpointing the balloon release even. I was just Vegas like a month ago. I should have asked, they have
I don't even know, what is the spread? It was 9.5, I think, at the open. Down to 6 and 6.5.
I've got 3.5.
3.5?
What?
Yeah.
What?
All right. I'm seeing it as Iowa's a 6-point favorite, according to the New York Times, the Sportsbook Wire, and BetMGM.
I got
24-7. They're gonna have a touchdown in the fourth quarter.
Okay. All right. Brett,
heard it here.
What's your prediction? Include balloon release.
I think it's going to be extremely low scoring. I think Iowa's going to pull it out. I think they do the balloon release in the fourth quarter after they kick a field goal. Okay. I think it's going to be 9-3.
Nice.
And that's going to be one touchdown and one safety.
Okay. Man, y'all are just forgetting history. I'm going to say 20-17. Last second field goal again in Lincoln by Drew Stevens. And I'm talking like 56-yard field goal.
All right.
And I bet balloons get released in the first quarter. This could easily be a game that after the first quarter, it's 14-14 and not a damn point is scored all the way until there's 3 seconds left on the clock. Now, if this actually happens, screw it. I'm not making a prediction ever again. But that's how I think it's.
You guys should come out to Buffalo Wild Wings for the game watch.
On Black Friday?
Black Friday, 11 a.m. It's the only game on at 11. Well, there's probably one other game on at 11.
Unfortunately, I have to work that day, so I won't be able to make it out for that, but I'll be there in spirit.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll have it on my television in the office watching it while I'm working. But all right, well, you heard it here first. Balloon release in the fourth quarter by Cam, our DFW Iowa representative. Cam, any other thoughts before we let you go for the evening so you can get on to your basketball game to watch your daughter sing the national anthem?
Well, there was several points over the last several podcasts that I have thought, oh, I need to call out Brett on that. Oh, I need to call out Brett on that. But Brett, you've been very agreeable tonight. I'm very proud of you. I didn't fight with you at all.
But you can call him out anytime you want. I do all the time.
Well, yeah, I know. I need
None of my points are like based on logic or stats or anything like that. So you can definitely disagree with me.
But please call Nolan out every time he hedges on my behalf.
Okay.
Well, thank you. You can go now. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I have a brother that bets against Iowa almost every week. So that's his. I mean, he legitimately actually hedges.
That makes sense, though. Like,
I don't want to listen to either one of you on this hedging stuff. This is coming from somebody who just sat through 4.5 quarters in Kansas City, and you talk about emotional trauma. Good Lord, I went through 3.5 quarters ago, and why the hell did I travel to Kansas City for this game? And then it's like, oh, we won.
Yeah. Did you listen to the Taylor Swift CD afterwards to help with your trauma?
No, I didn't. No. All right, knuckleheads. We'll let Cam take off. Thank you for joining us, Cam. This is going to be
having me.
We'll look forward to seeing what the hell happens on Friday and this what could be a shit show of a game. Let's hope it goes smoothly in your case for the Hawkeyes. But it is 11 a.m. on CBS in lovely Lincoln, Nebraska. So, all right. Well, we can let you go. Thank you again for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll talk to you later. All right. Well, that was a hell of a rundown of last week's games and this week's game. And also, it's just awesome to have our friend Cam join us and give us, obviously, very bipartisan opinion on this game this weekend. Brett, didn't you think so?
I believe the correct term is fair and balanced.
Yeah, fair and balanced. Unbiased completely.
Yeah.
But it was awesome to have Cam join us and awesome for her to bring up, the DFW Iowa club. It's awesome to hear about all the events they have and the things that they do to try and contribute to potential students that want to go to the University of Iowa as well, as far as, contributing towards scholarships, whatever it may be.
And that's amazing how they support all of the sports.
Absolutely.
Like wrestling, like what, Oklahoma State, like what wrestling programs are in the Big 12? Oklahoma State, Iowa State.
Well, the Big 12 in wrestling is different than the rest of the Big 12 for all other sports. So we have teams in the Big 12 in wrestling that aren't in any of the other sports as well. But the Big 10 doesn't have that issue because they have their powers. And that's the one thing where I will say Big 10 that's a conference that, others aspire to be as far as the sport of wrestling.
And that's just cool that they include that. It's not just your big ones.
Right.
That they're out there supporting their team, their school.
Yep, absolutely. Well, folks, if you noticed, we did have just a little bit more fun on this episode. A lot of it was somewhat unstructured, unplanned, and we meant for it to be this way because it is a holiday week and we just wanted to relax, have fun, and not only enjoy ourselves, but give you guys something enjoyable to listen to, as we go into this weekend and, the last regular season weekend for a lot of these teams. And we're going to wrap it up on that note. Brett, thanks again for joining, man. Have a hell of a Thanksgiving. And any final thoughts?
Yeah, and I just hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving, enjoys time with family. Make sure you're turning it up to 11 and enjoying the football.
Turning it up to 11 indeed. Well, as we say every week, have a cold bush light on us, or as we go into Thanksgiving and Black Friday, as most do in the state of Iowa or the Midwest, Nebraska too. Many bush lights on us, and enjoy some turkey, enjoy some family. Try to survive and make it through to Black Friday for your game, or for Cyclones fans all the way through to Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll catch y'all on the flip side. Have a good weekend, everybody.